Allow me to share my screen. Now we're getting to the part of the imperfect that I like. When you have to, it's like a game, like a puzzle for me. And now you have to decide when a person uses one tense versus another tense, where in English, it might be the same translation. And you're used to the person using one tense, but now all at once they're using another tense. You say to yourself, why? I used to always do that. Why? I can remember standing, I don't know, standing at a telephone booth. And this is when they still had telephone booths. So you know how far back this is. This is in the 80s, right? And they still had telephone booths. And it was easier just to have your phone to be a telephone booth than to get an actual phone, because in Mexico to get an actual phone at that time was such a hassle. It was so complicated. Oh my God, it was so complicated. So I can remember some of my best and worst memories of standing in line to talk on a telephone. And I would, you can't help but listen to people's conversation. And I would be going, why did they say it like that? Why was it like that? Why not this? And everything. And I would go home to my, and in my home, only Spanish was spoken because nobody was a native English speaker. I was the only native English speaker. And so many of them were native Creole, Haitian Creole, or French speakers. And so I would go home and I would say, hey, ¿por qué lo dijo así? ¿Por qué decía así? Why was it designed this? And these people, a lot of these were, people who were studying like architecture, medicine, and they could pick up Spanish like that. They didn't come speaking Spanish, but they picked it up like that. Because it wasn't that far, because Creole is a combination of all these different languages. And so is French, because French is nothing but, distorted Latin, so is Spanish. And they could tell me the rules. Some of the best teachers I ever had in Spanish were Haitianos, Haitians. Some of the best teachers, because they would stop me. Stop. Para. Yeah. I said, ¿Qué pasó? That's not how you say it. That's English. I don't speak English, but I know you're saying English, because it sure doesn't make no sense in Spanish. Okay, so, but I remember this. So here they're telling you, we're looking at the difference between when you use the same verb in the preterito versus when you're using it in the imperfect. And I had to include this part because I said to myself, this is what makes a language interesting to people who love language. Okay, so here we go. Fue un error hacerlo. Now, both in English, it is an era un error hacerlo. Both times would be translated as it was an error to do it, or it was a mistake to do it. Okay. But here's the difference. When you say fue un error hacerlo, what is not being said, what is being read culturally between the lines, and both the speaker and the listener knows this, you're saying it was a mistake. I did it. I actually did it. So I'm not just telling you the idea of it was a mistake. I actually did it. And that's why I'm using the preterito fue. Oh, by the way, fue is not, it should be, yeah, fue, it was a mistake. For a minute, I said I, and it can't be I, okay. Versus if you say, era un error hacerlo, it was a mistake or an error to do it. The emphasis is on the mistake, not whether I actually did it or not. Isn't that interesting? Because if I want you to know that, that I did it, I would say it was a mistake to do it. But if I want you to know, for me, if the emphasis is on the idea of it is a mistake, right? But I am going to let you know that I didn't do it. I would have said it would have been a mistake to do it. Hubiera sido un error hacerlo. Right? So I don't know how I would say it, unless I say the English. The second one, era un error hacerlo. It was a mistake to do it. That's why I didn't do it. But I would have to say that. When Spanish, the tense you use lets the person know whether you did it or not. I think that is super cool. And I think it's cool in a way that changes your way of looking at language. And if nothing else, it tells you you cannot translate directly from Spanish to English. I think that's super cool. Okay, let's look at it. I used to always love the subjunctive because it was so hard for me to learn. But as time goes on, I'm beginning to like the imperfect a lot, using it. And how you can say, you can talk between the lines using it. Okay, here we go. El problema fue difícil. Difícil. Can't say that too well. I know what the accent is, difícil, and I always go like that. Versus el problema era difícil. That's not a very good difícil. Okay, so the first one is the difficulty of the problem was solved. So I'm saying that it was a difficult problem, but I did it. I got over, I was able to solve that problem. The second one, era difícil, the emphasis on the difficulty of the problem, not whether the difficulty was actually resolved or not. Isn't that cool? I like that. So one is telling me, one is saying to the listener, the problem was difficult, but I solved it. So we can move on. The second one, where in English, would both of them would be said to be, problem was difficult. But the second one is emphasizing the fact of the difficulty, not emphasizing the fact that it was resolved. I'm gonna do one more because I have a number of these. Once again, I don't want the video to run too long, because it's already too long. Okay, tuve que hacerlo versus tenía que hacerlo. Now, I normally use tener que in the imperfect anyway, but this is slicing it even thinner, and I love that. Tuve que hacerlo means I had to do it, and I did it. I might not have wanted to do it, but I did it. So it's over. So we can discuss it if you choose, but it's over. Versus tenía que hacerlo. I had to do it, but the emphasis on the fact that I had to do it, the urgency of having to do it. It was an emergency and I had to do it. That's what the emphasis on. The emphasis is not on the fact that I actually did it or not. You don't know whether I did it or not. You don't know, right? Where on the first one, it's done. I think this is the stuff. This is what, to me, what makes language is interesting. Not so much for what it says, but for what it doesn't say directly. And what you have to read into it. Where someone who speaks the language, if I say, oh, you said tuve que versus ten, and I used to do that when I was much younger. You used to say, I said, oh, you said tuve que, and instead of tenía que, because on one, you're putting the emphasis on the fact that it's urgent that you had to do it. I don't know whether you did it or not. And the other is that the emphasis on the fact that it was a difficult thing to do and you did it. And they would look at me like, I did. And they were totally unaware of that fact. totally unaware. And I would go, how can you be unaware of it? And then until one time somebody came up to me and said, you said read because you knew that this sentence somewhere in your mind before you even finished the sentence was in the past. That's why you didn't say read. And then I realized, yeah, right? Read and read are spelled the same. R-E-A-D. How did I know how to say read and I didn't even finish the sentence? So I had no way of knowing, at least consciously, that it was the present and not the past. And then I got it. There's so much read that goes into play that's being processed when you're speaking or listening or reading a language or speaking a language, you're not even aware of it. And that's why when you learn another language, is those processes which are unconscious or subconscious in your own language have to all be brought to the conscious in that other language. And you go, how do they know how to say that? How do they know that's what it means? That's why the best way to learn a language is to live in that country. Because what happens is you become part of that cultural unconscious or that cultural subconscious, just like you're part of your own. And you don't even know it. But one day you find yourself, like I did one day, I found myself running upstairs and a telenovela was on. And I found myself running upstairs and I still understood it, even though I wasn't sitting in front of the television, concentrating on every word. And then I remember saying to myself, I got it. I got this. And then I love to go outside and listen to people's conversation and then wondering, what is that word? What is that word? But I got the core of it. Okay, so this is Carolyn Fickler McLean. Welcome, WYLCONE.com. Thank you for coming to the platform or the website or the YouTube channel that you've seen this on. If you're on a YouTube channel, please think about subscribing. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Bye. Let me stop sharing. You have a good day. Bye-bye.